Good morning, folks. My name is Brian Baker, Rail Logistics Manager at PFL. We hope that everyone enjoyed their weekend, and we hope that you are enjoying our early morning briefing. We are live 7 a.m. every Monday. If you are viewing this podcast through our reports and are up at 7 a.m. Eastern on Mondays, please tune in next week live instead. Please like us and follow us on our LinkedIn and pass on the good word. We would certainly appreciate it, and you could win a PFL Railcar. Our weekly quote this week is from Tony Alessandra. Tony is CEO of Assessments 24/7, LLC, a company that offers a variety of online assessments including the widely used DISC profile, the Hartman HVP, motivators, and several 360 effectiveness assessments. Tony once said, being on par in terms of price and quality only gets you into the game. Service wins the game. We, of course, really like this one, folks, and live by it. Relentless service is what we are all about. Heck, we even went so far as to trade marketing the name Relentless Service for rail in the United States and Canada. We are proud of this. Please call PFL today for Relentless Service. New U.S. job claims. The Department of Labor released its weekly report on new jobless claims Thursday morning of last week at 8:30 a.m. and another 861,000 workers filed for unemployment benefits for the first time, according to seasonally adjusted data released from the Labor Department. That's nearly 100,000 more claims than economists had predicted, and the highest number in a month. It was also an increase from the week before, which was revised higher as well. America's jobs recovery has really lost steam, and last week's initial claims were 4 times higher than in the same period last year. Quite frankly, we are getting tired of reporting the bad news at the same time seeing good jobs disappear overnight with a stroke of a pen. Cancellation of Keystone and economy and schools not reopening as promised is getting a little frustrating. The worst is not over, in our opinion, as we have yet to see the trickle-down effect of recent decisions made. Buckle up, folks. The Dow closed higher on Friday of last week, up 0.98, closing out the week at 31,494.32 points, up 35.92 points week over week. The S&P 500 closed lower on Friday of last week, down 7.26 points, and closing out the week at 3,906.71 points, down 28.12 points week over week. The Nasdaq closed higher on Friday of last week, up 9.1 points, closing out the week at 13,874.46 points, down 221.01 points week over week. In overnight trading, Dow futures traded lower and are expected to open down this morning, minus 166 points. WTI crude oil for March delivery declined $1.28 to $59.24 a barrel. Friday of last week, down 23 cents per barrel week over week. Brent crude oil for April delivery declined $1.02 to $62.91 a barrel Friday of last week, up 48 cents per barrel week over week. U.S. commercial crude oil inventories decreased by 7.3 million barrels week over week. At 461.8 million barrels, U.S. crude oil inventories are at a 5-year average for this time of year. Total motor gasoline inventories increased by 700,000 barrels week over week and are on 1% above the 5-year average for this time of year. Finished gasoline and blending components inventories both increased last week. Distillate fuel inventories decreased by 3.4 million barrels week over week and are 6% above the 5-year average for this time of year. Propylene inventories decreased by 2.9 million barrels week over week and are 9% below the 5-year average for this time of year. Total commercial petroleum inventories decreased by 15.1 million barrels week over week. U.S. crude oil imports averaged 5.9 million barrels per day last week, up 41,000 barrels per day from the previous week. Over the past 4 weeks, crude oil imports averaged 5.8 million barrels per day, 13% less than the same 4-week period last year. Total motor gasoline imports, including both finished gasoline and gasoline blending components, last week averaged 670,000 barrels per day. And distillate fuel imports averaged 362,000 barrels per day. Oil is higher in overnight trading, and WTI is poised to open at 59.65, up 41 cents per barrel from Friday's close. Total North American rail volumes were up 0.2% year over year in week 6, resulting in year-to-date volumes that are up 3% year over year. 2 of the AAR's 11 major traffic categories posted year-over-year increased, with the largest increase coming from intermodal plus 7.8%. The largest decrease came from coal at minus 11%, and non-metallic minerals at minus 17.8%. North America rig count is down by 4 rigs week over week. The U.S. was flat week over week. Oil rigs were down 1 to 305. Gas rigs were up 1 to 91. And miscellaneous rigs unchanged at 1 rig. According to Baker Hughes, the U.S. currently has 397 active rigs. Canada's rig count was down by 4 rigs week over week, and Canada's overall rig count is 172 active rigs. Year over year, we are down 460 rigs collectively. A few things we are keeping an eye on. Folks, all eyes were on Texas last week. The vortex invaded Texas in a big way. We all know a lot of people in the great state of Texas, and our hearts go out for all and the suffering of our colleagues had to endure. What we know, folks, from what happened this past week is that we need more pipelines, not less. What is really cool is how people work together behind the scenes to get people what they need without people even realizing it. The average consumption of natural gas in the United States is 85.7 BCF a day. TC Energy delivered to the U.S. through their pipeline network 101 BCF over a 3-day period, so Americans would not freeze and would be able to use the natural gas for electricity generation. This was record, folks, for the peaking supply delivered by TC Energy, the same people that got their pipeline canceled. I don't know about you, but am proud of them for turning the other cheek and helping us out. The situation right now in Texas is very complex, and how it plays out is anyone's guess. From the demand side, a number of refineries and plants declared force majeure and simply ceased operating, cutting off a huge chunk of demand for oil, gas, and power. See PFL's rail report today for a detailed listing of plants affected. At the same time, production was severely affected by the extreme cold. Restarting oil and gas wells shut in by the extreme cold sweeping much of the U.S. isn't going to be quick or easy. Even once the ice thaws and power is restored, oil production nationwide has been cut by at least a third, and in the premium basin of Texas, the heart of America's shale industry, output has plummeted by as much as 65%. But bringing flows back is likely to take much longer than it took for them to come offline. Again, see PFL's rail report for a more detailed analysis. Before Texas even unthawed, the Federal Energy Regulation Commission moves last week boost Biden's energy plan. FERC could shift Biden's clean energy plan for the Texas grid. FERC Chairman Richard Glick announced a series of decisions on Friday of last week that could significantly alter Texas grid and boost President Biden's zero carbon and environmental justice goals. The influential panel moved to revise its natural gas pipeline reviews to account for impacts to disadvantaged communities, break down market barriers to renewable energy deployment, and shutter a Trump-era inquiry into grid resilience, among other actions. The U.S. Department of Energy submitted a report to the president last month on economic and national security impacts under a hydraulic fracking ban. This 80-page report analyzed the effects of hypothetical United States ban on high-volume hydraulic fracturing technology used with any new or existing onshore wells starting in 21 through 25. Such a ban, the report predicts, would result in the loss of millions of jobs, price spikes at the gas pump, and higher electricity costs for all Americans. The report goes on to predict that a ban would eliminate the United States' status as the top oil and gas producing country, return the United States to a net importer of oil and gas by 2025, weaken the United States' geopolitical standing and negatively affect its national security. You can download the report via PFL's just published rail report. Petroleum by rail, the 4-week rolling average of petroleum carloads carried on the 6th largest North American railroads fell to 26,053 from 27,492 week over week. Canadian volumes were lower on the back of weather delays. CP shipments fell by 5.4% and CN volumes were down by 11%. U.S. railroad operators fell system-wide. UP had the largest percentage loss, down by 23.1%. The Surface Transportation Board has released January headcount data for the U.S. rails. For the industry as a whole, January headcount was down 11.6% year over year, versus December headcount that was down 10.4% year over year. On a sequential basis, industry headcount was down 3.7% versus the 5-year January average of down 1.5%. That's all for this week's podcast. We hope you have a great and safe week, and we will see you next Monday. PFL has been extremely active in storage and all rail-related activities. Make sure to check us out or our just posted reports at pflpetroleum.com or call PFL to troubleshoot any questions or concerns you may have.